You won't believe the chaos Meghan Markle just stepped into. Hold on to your seats because what I'm about to reveal will have you questioning everything. Meghan just suffered the most humiliating public rejection of her life, and it's a disaster she might never recover from. No, seriously, this is next level drama. Imagine this. While Prince Harry was breaking down in a London courtroom, crying about his wife and getting scolded like a schoolboy, Meghan was on a mission to insert herself into the most exclusive elite event of the year. But it wasn't meant to be, and her desperation to be seen just exploded in her face. Let's talk about the Valentino funeral fiasco. This is the juicy stuff you won't want to miss.
Meghan Markle crashed Valentino Garavani's funeral in Rome uninvited, with entourage and big camera crew to film for her image rehab. Security booted her fast. No respect for the dead, just her brand. Utterly classic.
Everyone's talking about how Meghan Markle didn't get an invite to the private funeral in Rome. That, my friends, is the wrong story. The real story is that her private outreach became public. And that only happens when the room wants you exposed and not included, which is bad news for Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle is in California with her wanting to be in the UK husband, trying to get back to the UK. But what is so alarming to me is how Meghan continues to want to create these ripples in these other areas and parts of the world as she did a few days ago.
It is a lot of fun to see so much of the royal family and in such a strategic way to where we're learning a little bit more about them, but really their mission is to get these important causes out there.
You had to be creative, but today you click your fingers and you've got all these platforms beating a path to the doorway of Buckingham Palace or Kensington Palace saying, yeah, we'll make it.
We're going to the press conference when the restoration of the castle was finished. And it was announced that it had been done within the budget, within the time. The press was so disappointed.
This ripple effect happens in a lot of areas in Hollywood, people who are famous.
To tell you why I cannot stand Meghan Markle so much. After all, there are a lot of know-nothing, attention-seeking former actresses in this world. Part of it is because I do love the UK so much, and I think we effectively exported our worst cultural asset to hurt their royal family. And the other part of it, though, is the way that the media has always lapped up her obviously false claims and fed into her delusions of grandeur, which culminated in her and her husband, Prince Harry.
I have no idea where this came from. And as I told you and your
I bet it came from Meghan's team. I bet you anything it came from Meghan's team. Come on.
Absolutely.
Here's the tea. Meghan Markle desperately tried to score an invite to Valentino's funeral in Rome, but guess what? She was shut down. Hard. Publicly. And that leak, it has her absolutely furious. While Harry was in London crying in court, Meghan was working her connections like a madwoman, trying to worm her way into the funeral of a legend. But why? Not to pay respects, no. This was all about securing a spot at the high table of Hollywood's elite. She wanted to be snapped next to the likes of Anna Wintour, Donatella Versace, and Tom Ford, all while trying to make it look like she belonged. That's the kind of PR game she was playing, but the fashion world wasn't buying it. They saw right through her.
Valentino's work, we're learning today, he passed away at the age of 93. Let me start with showing you the announcement and how we heard about this, Reed. This came through on social media just within the last hour or so. It says, Valentino passed away today at his home in Rome, surrounded by his loved ones. It goes on to say that a funeral will take place in Rome at 11 a.m. in the coming days.
It all went down on January 19th, 2026, when the fashion world lost an icon. Valentino Garavani passed away at 93. Meghan? Well, her first instinct wasn't to send condolences. No. She went straight to the phones, dialing up Valentino's closest friends and insiders, hoping to somehow sneak her way into his funeral. She wasn't mourning, she was networking. Classic Meghan, right? Trying to use a designer's death to get that golden invite.
Prince Harry nearly broke down in tears in court today, weeping about Meghan Markle's misery. and he was told to stop arguing back by the judge. Well, Prince Harry was giving evidence in his privacy claim against the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday in the High Court today.
But here's the kicker. Meghan had never been to one of Valentino's runway shows. She wasn't part of his inner circle. She was just another celebrity who wore his designs once or twice. So what made her think she could waltz right in? Was it because she thought she could ride her royal status and the echoes of her past fame to muscle in? Probably. The guest list for the funeral was absolutely star-studded. We're talking about Donatella Versace, Tom Ford, Anna Wintour, Anne Hathaway, and even the Italian Prime Minister. But Meghan was nowhere on that list, even though she begged her way into Paris Fashion Week just a few months earlier. It was almost too ridiculous to believe, but here we are.
Meghan Markle has always wanted to be an A-lister. Not adjacent, not inspired by. She wants to be on the inside. But she genuinely believed that marrying into royalty meant that she could simply just inherit elite status and that everybody would just swing the door open for her. Because the highest circles in Hollywood, royalty, fashion, finance, legacy power, it doesn't matter, your HR department, it will operate under one unbreakable rule. What happens on the inside stays on the inside, and everybody's hush-hush. Nobody talks about it. Nobody hints about it. Nobody has a source close to will say that they know about it.
But here's where it gets super juicy. Meghan thought she had an in through Pierpaolo Piccioli, Valentino's creative director who used to work for him. She thought if she pulled a few strings, maybe she could pull off the ultimate power move. What did she get for all her hustle? Rejected. Coldly. The fashion elite weren't having it. And here's why this matters. This isn't just about a funeral. This is a career-defining moment for Meghan. She was already in damage control mode, trying to get back in with the fashion world, but it seems like her star power is fading faster than she can keep up with. So what does all this say about Meghan? Well, it's not just embarrassing, it's utterly revealing. This isn't the first time she's tried to use a connection to boost her image. Look back at her stunt in Paris Fashion Week. She literally invited herself to the Balenciaga show in October 2025. It was a desperation move, and the fashion world saw right through it. In this case, though, the rejection wasn't just a slap in the face, it was a public one, and it's got her spiraling. The fashion world isn't having it, and that tells you everything you need to know about how far she's fallen. Now, let's zoom out a bit. While Meghan was making desperate calls, her husband Harry was falling apart in London. The man was crying in court, fighting for his privacy rights, and constantly bringing up Meghan in a case that had nothing to do with her. What did he do? He cried about how the media had ruined her life. The whole courtroom witnessed it. And guess what? Meghan wasn't even there for him. Nope. She was 5,000 miles away, still trying to secure a spot in the spotlight, except this time it was at a funeral. Talk about priorities. Let's dive deeper into the train wreck because it doesn't stop there. We all know Meghan thrives on drama, whether it's getting attention from a fashion event or pushing her way into circles she doesn't belong in. This funeral rejection was the ultimate slap in the face for her post-royal career. And it gets worse when you consider the fact that her actions are public. We're not talking about something happening behind closed doors. No. The world knows. It's all out there for the media to feast on. Meanwhile, Harry? He's in London playing the role of the sad, scorned prince who just can't catch a break. He's battling in court, claiming the press invaded his privacy, but then he turns around and brings up Meghan in a case that has zero to do with her. What's even more telling is that Meghan didn't fly to his side. Instead, she was busy working her connections, scheming for a spot at a funeral. How much more telling can it get? Their priorities are completely out of sync. Now, let's break down what really happened in that courtroom. Harry was supposed to be there to present evidence about articles written years before he even met Meghan. But instead, he was on the defensive, arguing with the lawyer, going off on tangents, and crying about his wife. Why? Why bring her up when the case has nothing to do with her? Well, as it turns out, Meghan's influence is everywhere. She's running the show behind the scenes. She's pulling the strings, making Harry react and act out in ways that are clearly damaging. And don't even get me started on how Harry's complete inability to stick to the case led the judge to scold him. He was reprimanded 3 times for going off script. He couldn't contain his emotions and ended up digging himself into a deeper hole. How humiliating is that? But here's the real kicker. The fact that Harry was reduced to tears about his wife while Meghan was halfway across the world making calls about a funeral. Think about that. She's trying to climb the Hollywood ladder, one funeral invite at a time, while her husband is literally in a courtroom trying to salvage his reputation. Does anyone else see the irony here? Harry is desperately trying to keep up the fight for privacy, while Meghan's every move is calculated for public consumption. She's turning everything into a media spectacle, whether it's a fashion show or a designer's funeral. This is no longer about grieving or giving respect. It's about positioning herself at the top of the Hollywood food chain. And when you really think about it, their whole brand is falling apart. Meghan's attempts to leverage her connection with the elite have been nothing short of embarrassing. She's tried every angle: acting, producing, podcasting, and each one has been a disaster. Her Netflix show? Flop. Her Spotify podcast? Abysmal. She can't even get a decent invite to a funeral, a place where respect is supposedly the only thing required. And now the cracks are starting to show everywhere. Meghan's Hollywood dream is unraveling in real time. And let's not forget, Harry's legal troubles are far from over. If he loses this case, he could face a massive financial burden. Millions. But does Meghan care? Does she care about the damage to their bank account or Harry's reputation? Absolutely not. She's too busy planning her next move, trying to worm her way into A-list events. But let's be real here, that ship has sailed. Hollywood doesn't want her, fashion doesn't want her, and neither does the media. It's clear as day now, everything Meghan Markle touches is falling apart. Her Netflix show tanked. Her podcast, a disaster. And now, the fashion world has publicly shut her out. What's next? What else does she have left to cling to? This entire saga proves one thing. Meghan Markle is a social climber who's reached the peak and is now sliding back down. Her desperation to stay relevant is almost tragic, but also entirely predictable. This is exactly what Tom Bauer warned us about. He predicted that Meghan would crash and burn in Hollywood, and guess what? He was right. Every single time. She's not the next big thing. She's just a fleeting celebrity with no real talent, no authenticity, and no real connections to stand on. But here's the thing. While Meghan continues to chase fame and fortune, Harry is struggling to reclaim his own identity. He's fighting to repair his relationship with the royal family, and yet every time he tries, it's overshadowed by Meghan's antics. He's trapped in her shadow, and he can't escape. He wants to reconcile with his family, but Meghan's goal is to make a name for herself in Hollywood. Their goals are worlds apart, and the tension between them is only going to grow. It's only a matter of time before the cracks in their marriage are too big to fix. And if we're being honest, it might already be too late. As Tom Bauer predicted, the downfall of Harry and Meghan is already happening in front of our eyes. So what happens next? Well, the answer's obvious. The media will continue to report on every embarrassing failure, every disastrous attempt at fame, every humiliating rejection. Harry and Meghan's brand is now toxic. Hollywood doesn't want them. Fashion doesn't want them. And soon, the public will stop caring altogether. They've worn out their welcome, and now the world is simply indifferent. This is the cold, hard truth that no one wants to say. Meghan and Harry have already failed. The question is, how much worse will it get before they fade away for good? Or they fade away for good? Or they fade away for good?